Well, hello again. I thought I'd do another weekly roundup of what's been happening. It's the 29th of June 2024, equivalent to the 24th of November in the UK. Still not particularly cold here. It's a bit overcast. It's the first month of winter just coming to an end. Now, I've made some notes about regarding all the exciting news this week that's come from the usual science fiction piffle peddlers, and here they are. There's absolutely nothing, of course, of any consequence. Actually, I have made a few notes, and I will be making a few comments. So, as you can see, I'm in full prepper mode, camouflage, military hat, so that if there is an alien invasion, I'll be able to hide. I mean, if I do that, you can't see me. You can't see me at all now, can you? So, what's been going on this week in the wonderful world of the piffle peddlers? As usual, sort of rubbish. No tangible evidence produced. No first-hand witnesses have come forward. I'm sure you can understand my surprise. Okay, well, Danny Sheehan says the first-hand ET tech and biology witnesses, the witnesses with the first-hand experience of these ET materials, are coming forward. They're out there, and they will be coming forward. Honest gov, They fear for their lives. They've got to get their protection sorted out. Really, personal opinion, just put a line through Danny Sheehan. Anything he's got to say on this subject, it's complete and utter rubbish. How many times have I said there were no first-hand witnesses? How many times have I said people claiming to be first-hand witnesses are not going to be talking to anybody that can check their stories out, because they'll be found out to be bullshit very quickly, okay? And remember also, Danny Sheehan says there should be a countdown clock to October the 18th this year, when everybody's got to reveal everything to Arrow, or the US government is going to make all this stuff relating to UAPs and ETs public, whether it's classified or not. Anything over 20 years is going to be made public. And they're all on tender hooks, expecting the Roswell story to be verified as an ET event. They're going to be sorely disappointed, of course. If these witnesses can't possibly be fearing for their lives, can they? I mean, Greer and Dolan and all these other people that have been pushing all this rubbish for decades would have been run over or fallen out of a window long before now. So, and these people have been spruiking this absolute rubbish about ET crashes and everything else, and communicating with aliens, over every social media platform that will have them for years and years and years, and no one's killed them. Yeah, it's complete and utter rubbish, all of it. Yeah. So the next thing is Jamie Maussan and his aliens. He's still peddling those alien bodies. The problem with Jamie Maussan is that he has a history of presenting fake aliens. Aliens made up of different body parts of animals. So why would anybody give him the time of day today? If someone's come to me 2 or 3 times in the past, hey Steve, found an alien. Here you go, give me the alien. I'll take it to somewhere and get it analysed, and they go, "Oh, this is just a bit of a monkey, bit of a lemur, it's this, that, and the other." And he comes to me again and says, "Hey, Steve, I've got some aliens. Am I going to take him seriously? Would you?" Certainly not going to hurt to analyse these bodies that he's putting forward as being aliens. I think Gary Nolan wants to examine them. Now, this is more Gary Nolan's field. The sort of biology side of things. And he did say that Nolan did say that the Atacama alien, I can't remember if that was presented by Musan as well, but that was actually human. So he may have the integrity to say that they're fake. If he says they're aliens, I would certainly want a second, third, fourth opinion, because Nolan is a fanboy that sees aliens at the bottom of his bed. So. But just for the simple fact that these things come from this Jamie Musan, who has a history of presenting fake aliens, I think I can confidently say they're not going to be aliens. So it's more science fiction rubbish. I saw a clip with Ross Coulthard interviewing Chris Mellon, the Secretary of Defence, Assistant Secretary of Defence. You would think someone like that would know if there was any alien reverse engineering programs, alien technology reverse engineering programs going on, but he has to rely on what he's being told by others. I mean, really? Give me a break. Yes, Mellon says he has no first-hand experience of any of this stuff, but he knows people that he considers credible that tell him it's going on. How many times do we have to hear that story? People sit themselves down in front of cameras and say, I know it's all real, I know it's all happening, I know we're interacting with ETs. I mean, how do you know that? Oh, people have told me. People I think are credible have told me. Just look at who's saying this, People like David Grush. Louis Santo. It's not real, is it? I mean, so, these are people that just believe what they've been told. Lou Elizondo himself uses the word belief. I believe. It's my belief that the American government has recovered alien spacecraft. Doesn't say he knows, doesn't say he's seen anything. So as I said before, why would you waste your money on the book? This is all... It's all falling apart at the seams, isn't it, really? It really is falling apart at the seams. I've said it before, the balloon is deflating, and they got the thing out and another story, another science fiction story. We need a few more PSI in the ET's coming here balloon, because it's deflating rapidly. So, Chris Mellon was talking about UAPs shot down in Alaska, over Alaska. Now he says there was no secrecy. There was no secrecy regarding the Chinese spy balloon that was shot down. We had some pretty good pictures of that. But there's a couple of other shoot downs that occurred, fairly small objects, and they were. There's a lot of secrecy around them. There's been no images of that, and there's been no. They normally go out and recover the bits and pieces, and we haven't heard anything about that now. And he's and Coulthard is famous for this. He's trying to inject a bit of intrigue into the subject where there is none. So, he's saying, well, it's secret. Maybe these objects were, not balloons. Now, what you've got to bear in mind is that I think there was, it might have been either a ham radio club or a science club of some sort that they launched these sondes, these balloons, and lighter than air vehicles with sensors on and all that sort of stuff. There's hobbyists that do it. They study the atmosphere. They get pictures from space and all this sort of stuff. And one of these clubs was saying that around that time, one of their vehicles went missing, and they suspect the American Air Force shot it down because they thought it was a UAP. And I think that the secrecy surrounding these other shoot downs is due to embarrassment. It's not due to any super secret technology being discovered. The US Air Force or the American government don't want you to know that they've spent $100,000 on a missile to shoot down a $200 hobby project. That's all that's going to be. It's not. It's, as I've said before, we are not going to be able to bring down ET technology. You know, the detection and avoidance systems will be beyond our imagination. We're not going to be able to hit them. You know, if an aircraft tried to shoot down an alien spacecraft, the aircraft's going to get destroyed. You know, unless the ETs might have just thought, oh, he's attacking us. You know, these are just angry monkeys, these people. So, and just not bother with it. But the worst thing you could possibly do is attack an alien spacecraft, because you're going to come off worse. If you're not ignored, you're going to get vaporised. So just don't do it. And why would anyone want to start an interstellar war, you know? Makes no sense whatsoever to shoot an alien spacecraft. If one appeared and just flew over the city, they might scramble a couple of jets to go and have a look at it, but they're not going to attack it. You'd find out what they want first, wouldn't you? Worst thing you could possibly do. So, again, there's going to be nothing in that. Shoot downs in Alaska, a bit of secrecy around it, embarrassment. A lot of money to shoot down a couple of $200 hobby projects. Forget about it. So, I saw a video where the guy, someone's saying Australia does investigate UFOs. Well, not really. I mean, what you've got to bear in mind is that I think they sent a representative along to an Arrow presentation, someone from the Australian embassy in Washington or New York or wherever this meeting was with Arrow. And that makes perfect sense, because Australia is a member of the Five Eyes Alliance. You know, it's, what is it, America, Canada, Australia, New Zealand and the UK. So, and they all share intelligence, all part of NORAD and all this sort of stuff. And it would make sense, you know, you set up a serious investigative body like Arrow, because you want to get to the bottom of it. You want to know what this is. You know, obviously the American government, if they had any of this stuff, would know. But they're setting this body up so that they can investigate this phenomena and find out what it is. So they'll say, okay, we want representatives of the Five Eyes. If they see anything interesting, let us know. If they find anything interesting, let us know. I mean, the UK is perfectly capable of analysing any kind of technology they come across. But that's what it's all about. It doesn't mean Australia studies UFOs. Australia doesn't study UFOs. It's not a thing here in Australia. They had a guy on there who's a UFO fanboy, an Australian UFO fanboy, who might tell you otherwise, but you know, you don't see UFOs in Australia. It's just not a thing here. It's not like America, you know, where you get alien spacecraft crashing in a field every 2 weeks and you need an emergency response team. Sitting around like coiled springs, drinking coffee, because they can't drink beer, of course, because they've got to respond. They can't drive or fly a plane if they're under the influence. So they've got to sit around, drink coffee all day, and they're like coiled springs waiting to respond. We don't have anything like that, because it just doesn't happen here, you know. And I've spoken to military people here, and they say that there's no interest in the Australian military has no interest in this thing, in this subject. So yeah, so that's all that is. Australia, being a member of the Five Eyes, would have been invited to send a representative along to a meeting with Arrow. Doesn't mean Australia studies UFOs. Ron James from MUFON, you know, the more usual effing ordinary nonsense club. MUFON. Peddled a picture of a crashed flying saucer last week, or the week before. Can't remember now. Time flies when you're having fun, doesn't it? Everyone's ripped it to shreds. Found that it's actually an image from a book called Ominous. And now he's seriously backpedaling, and he's saying he wants to put it out there so that people can make up their own minds as to whether it's genuine or not. Now, what sort of bullshit is that? That is the oldest trick in the book. You know, I've got a picture of a crashed alien spacecraft. You know, you make your own mind up whether it's real or not. You know, so because everyone clicks on it and looks at it and gives an opinion, and it's generating revenue, isn't it? Every click is Google ad money. You know, people are going to go along to the MUFON conference, pay money to go to the MUFON conference. You know, so he initially peddled it as being genuine, trying to suck people into the MUFON conference, but everyone's torn it to shreds, and now he's backpedaling. Well, we want to get to the truth. It's a different story this week. Previous week, different story. It's nonsense. All of this is nonsense. Now, when I looked at that image, I thought, well, it's a typical 50s flying saucer. You know, it actually looked like a apricot Danish to me. But then when I looked at it closely, I looked at an enlarged image of that. What I noticed was in the middle of the dome, you know, so you got the crashed saucer at an angle like that. It's got a little dome. Right in the middle of the dome was a little nipple. And I thought, yeah, okay, I can see what that's for. And that's for, they would have taken a few shots of this thing. So, you know, when it's on the ground, an angle doesn't really matter. But what the little nipple is, right in the middle of the dome on top of the saucer, so you can put fishing line through it and suspend it from a tree branch or something like that. If you wanted to take any shots of the saucer in the air at different angles, you know, hovering, that's why it's got a little tiny nipple on top of the dome. So you've got the dome on top of the saucer, the round saucer, little tiny nipple right on top of the dome, right in the middle where the centre of gravity would be. Put a bit of fishing line through it and you can suspend it and photograph it in flight. Maybe they tried that and it didn't look terribly convincing, so they put it on the ground and photographed it. Either way, it's a fake. It's rubbish. Now, when Ron James held the image up, he went, and his fingers were covering the this side of the image. So on my side, it's the right-hand side. It'd be your left-hand side. It was, regardless, he's holding the image like that, like that, and that's because this part of the image had an oversized alien. Because it was an image from a book, there was an oversized alien standing there, and then the saucer was here, and he's holding it like that to cover the alien. And then later, when we see the image of the actual the saucer crashed in the forest, it's cropped. It's only from that part over to there, showing the saucer, that you can see the alien's been cropped out of it. It's been cropped because it's crap. That's the problem. You know, there's so much bullshit in this. Well, there has to be, I suppose, because there's no reality to it. You know, I've said it before. ET's not coming here. ET has never been here. Nobody has first-hand experience working on ET materials. It's all bullshit. And more, you know, these people are trying to convince us there's something to it. All they need to do is show us some tangible evidence. Verified tangible evidence. Evidence, you know, verified to be extraterrestrial by a few respectable universities. That's all it would take. And we would know that it's real. All these science fiction stories, fake photographs, you know, pardon me. The witnesses, the first-hand witnesses are coming. They really are. Yeah, you know, they're honest gov. They are. They're coming. They're just trying to get their protection sorted out. You know, put a line through that bullshit. Nonsense. Ron James also referred. So Ron James, remember, is the. Well, I did write his position down. He's the Director of Media Relations for MUFON, this Ron James. And he referred to the Roswell crash occurring on the weekend of the Roswell crash, July the 7th. You know, there was lots of UFO sightings. You would think that the Director of Media Relations for MUFON would be better informed. You would think that he would know that Mac Brazel, who found the Roswell wreckage, found it on his ranch on June the 14th, 3 weeks before July the 7th. Had nothing to do with any UFOs that might have been spotted around that weekend of July the 7th. Would have had nothing to do with a big storm on July the 7th, you know. Oh, a big storm brought down a flying saucer. Complete and utter rubbish. You know, aliens would have seen bad weather before. Said it before, weather, radar, you know, weapons are not going to bring down an alien spacecraft. But the director of media relations for MUFON believes the Roswell crash was real, and he believes it happened over the weekend of July the 7th. When the wreckage had already been in Brazel's field for 3 weeks, because Brazel found it on June the 14th. Described it as balsa wood sticks, tin foil, strips of rubber, bit of cardboard, scotch tape. You know, could you fly around the galaxy with that set of components? If you assembled those into a spacecraft, would you expect to be able to fly around the galaxy with it? You know, scotch tape, cardboard, balsa wood sticks, tin foil, and rubber strips. So, yeah, there's really, you know, this week is, most weeks it's bad. This week it's particularly bad. You know, we're seeing flying saucers, hubcaps back to back. It's all rubbish. It's just like Billy Meyer. Probably Billy Meyer's models were the most impressive. Used to hang them up and photograph them. You know, Sem Jazz from the Pleiades used to go and visit him on a regular basis. Tea and scones with the one-armed woodcutter from the Pleiades. When he split up with his wife, she said, "Hey, he faked it all." You know, there's flying saucer models in the garage, in the barn. So Jason Sands is still out there making a bit of noise, but put a line through Jason Sands, complete and utter rubbish. He's still trying to get his feet under the talk circuit table. I think he's going to fail dismally. So that's pretty much it, really. There's not very much to report on this week, but there's far too many people out there talking this nonsense up when there's nothing to it. Yeah, as I've said before, personal opinion. Put a line through Danny Sheehan, anything he's got to say. Same with Steve Bassett. You know, they're fanboys. They see flying saucers. They believe all this Roswell nonsense. They're going to be seriously disappointed in October when nothing comes forward about Roswell being the crash of a real ET craft, because it wasn't. You know, because balsa wood sticks, rubber strips, bits of cardboard, scotch tape and tin foil were the sort of components you would find in a Mogul balloon string. Mogul balloon string number 4 crashed on Brazel's ranch. That's all it is. And you've got to bear in mind as well the design of these alien spacecraft. They're all saucers, you know, they're all typical 1950s style flying saucers, all these images that we're seeing. Now, flying saucer, the term was coined after Ken Arnold was flying a private plane and he saw 9 craft, they were actually crescent shaped, skipping across the sky like saucers skipping across a pond. So he didn't observe saucers, but the report was big news, and the media latched onto the term flying saucer. You know, it sounds good, doesn't it? Flying saucer. Everyone likes flying saucer, the appearance of flying saucer. It's a bit like skull and crossbones emblem, the old pirate symbol, you know, the skull and crossbones. Everybody loves that symbol. It's just one of those things that registers in the psyche. Flying saucer. And that's what we see. Personally, I don't think an alien spacecraft, even Bob Lazar's science fiction rubbish, is a flying saucer, isn't it? It's typical flying saucer. Personally, I don't think if an alien spacecraft would look like a flying saucer. I mean, if you think about it, you know, it's the worst possible shape, isn't it? The space inside would be severely limited if it was that shape. You know, 2 domes back to back. How much room are you going to have for the crew to walk around in? You know, and put the propulsion system in there and everything else. It's just not going to look like that. It's straight out of the human psyche. It was invented by the press, the flying saucer. Apparently Ken Arnold could have seen test flying of a German Horton sort of flying wing type thing, because the Americans did have a couple of those, and they were flying them around that time. They were testing them. So that's probably what he saw. How it would appear to be bouncing across the sky, who knows? You know, could have been going through rough air, reflection on the cockpit, could have been anything. What they wouldn't have been would be alien spacecraft. So the usual pathetic science fiction rubbish from the piffle peddlers this week, clutching at straws really to find something to do a weekly roundup on. So we'll see what next week brings, and as always, if you've struggled through the video all the way to this point, many thanks for watching, and maybe I'll catch you next week.